On this episode of AV Week, ISE is moving from February to May, the impact that'll have on the global community, also what it means for supply chain, and taking a look at the XR version of AV. All that and more next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 543, recorded Friday, January 14th, 2022. Going global.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Draper and by
Sure, sound extraordinary.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright, your host. Normally, I would introduce you to a whole cadre of people, and I will do that in 1 second. But first and foremost, this young man made some significant news this week. His name is Mike Blackman. He is the Managing Director of Integrated Systems Europe. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Tim. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Absolutely, thank you. And Mike's not staying up late. I'm recording this earlier on Friday. But thank you for joining us. I mentioned the fact that you made some significant news this week. Integrated Systems Europe, ISE, was set to go ahead on the 1st to the 4th of February in Barcelona at the FIRA. You announced earlier this week that it is moving to the 10th through the 13th of May. Still in Barcelona, still at the FIRA. Not exactly on top of Infocom here in the States. About 3 or 4 weeks out of that. 2 questions to start with. Why are we moving it, and why announce it about 3 weeks out from the actual event?
Well, Tim, firstly, why are we moving it? We have been having discussions with our customers, both exhibitors and attendees, and just gauging their interest, gauging their sentiment. One of the things we actually did after we put together a meeting back in December of the top 23 exhibitors, so all the major manufacturers who are exhibiting at ISE. And we talked to them, and we've been pretty transparent with them about where we are, how the show's looking, the number of exhibitors, number of registrations, all the basic information that's important to them, where those people are coming from, so they know how to plan. You can imagine a company like Samsung are bringing people in from multiple countries to deal with their customers. So they want to know from us, well, who's registering, where are they coming from? And so, we were giving everybody this sort of information. And, we went away from that meeting with, a little bit of nerves, but still everyone felt in a good position. And we went through Christmas, and we promised them another meeting, which we planned for 10th of January. And we had that discussion. Before we had that discussion, we actually sent out a survey to our attendees. We were monitoring the issues that people were having with traveling, with confidence, etc. For example, did you know that Chinese exhibitors, anyone coming from China, had to spend 2 weeks in hotel quarantine when they go back?
Oh, wow.
So, these are issues that are challenges for some of our customers. Yeah. So, having done that, having done the survey and seeing the results of how confident people were about traveling, and seeing, a lot of people also undecided, that we said, okay, what do we do? And having this discussion with the exhibitors, they said, look, we really want ISE. We really want to be part of it. We want to go ahead. But we'd like to put it at the time when we feel that people have more confidence to travel, and looking at the situation in all the countries. We don't have, the US attendance at ISE is mostly people like yourself. We get about 5% of our attendance comes from North America, in 2019 and 20. And it was trying to balance and saying, okay, what are the issues that everyone's facing still? And whilst we expected most of those issues to be out of the way, there was still some there. And, based on that meeting on Monday night, the group of exhibitors said to us, if there is any way we can do this, they would like us to postpone. to 2 to 3 months.
All right, so we've got a couple of months now, right? 3 months. Well, 3 months. There are, some when you look at that, are we thinking then that is not fairly confident because none of us are doctors in this industry, right? And we don't know, and we're not infectious disease experts. But this latest variant has been less severe, especially if you're vaccinated. Is that what we're kind of when you're talking to like the World Health Organization, you're talking to the Spanish authorities? This 3-month pause gives us a little bit more confidence. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, that's what our customers are telling us. They feel more
Okay.
confident for travel in 3 months, and I think a lot of them looked at the figures. And if you're dealing with projections, you tend to look at history to try and manage that. And I think a lot of what the health authority has been using, they look at how the situation was in 21 and 2020. And they've said they see that the spring months, April, May, that it looks better, and we hope that's what's going to be the case.
All right, very good. Registration is still open then.
Continuing to stay open. We've seen after the announcement a slight surge again in registrations. So people are starting to register based on the new dates. And that's encouraging. We've seen a lot of social media from both exhibitors and activity from both exhibitors and attendees and press that shows as to commending us for the decision and saying it's the best thing for the industry. And a majority of people saying we're going to be there. Of course, we've had some criticism as well. We can't please everybody. But the majority of what's out there, 99% of what's out there, has been positive news. And that's, it's funny. I would have thought the hotels in Barcelona and the people of Barcelona would be really pissed with us now. It's been amazing the reactions we're getting from there. I've had from the deputy mayor, from deputy president. I've spoken with both commend our decision but also our commitment to continue and actually do the show in Barcelona. We've seen messages from the Hotel Association saying, a good decision, we're behind you, we're working with you. So, it's surprising that, we still have confidence from the city organizations, and the people involved there. A lot of people are still disappointed. They my team have been working hard to deliver a show in 2 weeks' time. And if the biggest disappointment's there, it's from us as a group. But we're also realistic, and we'd rather deliver a good show that everyone's happy with, and that we have a chance to make the best out of.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mike, if somebody does want to register or find out more about Integrated Systems Europe, how do they do that?
You go to www.iseurope, so EUROPE.org, and then click on the registration button. I'm sure if you want a free code, give me a call, give Tim a call, mail us, and we'll give you a free code to get in.
Don't mail me; it won't get here by then. But yeah, email me or call me. So thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now for our fantastic panel. First and foremost, Bren Walker from Kierkegaard. Welcome, ma'am.
Hello. Welcome to everyone. Happy to be here.
Alrighty. Steve Greenblatt. Not only is Steve the owner and operator of Control Concepts, he also is the host of the State of Control here on AVNation. Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Also, a young man that I've not gotten a chance to be on this show before yet, Alex Horton. Alex is from Novmega. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you. Great to be here.
And I will point out that this is the first time in the history of this program that I've had two people on from British Columbia. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
British Columbia, apparently that's part of Canada, I'm being told.
Yes.
I'm joking. I know it was part of Canada. Good Lord.
The next show, there will be three of us, and before you know it, we'll take over.
Oh, good Lord. Well, I could technically have like an entire Canadian. At this point, I could have an entirely Canadian AVWeek because Matt Scott could take over as host, and then have you two and like Brock McGinnis on. That would be fine. We could do that in a couple weeks. last but not least, just down the coast from Bren and Alex, Mr. Josiah Way from USC and from HETMA and from his own higher ed podcast. Welcome, sir.
Hey, thank you very much, Tim. Always humbled and honored to be with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. By the time this posts, I'll talk about this at the end, but the final round of the AVNation awards is going on. I don't know anything, so I can't say. I really don't know anything. People keep texting me and asking how people are doing, and it's like, it's not my thing. I don't do it. I don't touch it anymore because they don't want me to break it. But most likely there's some HETMA folks in there, so go check that out. All right, Steve, we're going to start with you on this. Y'all heard what Mr. Blackman said. I also got the chance to sit down with Dave Labuscas, CEO of AVIXA. Mitchell, our fantastic producer, will put that entire interview on this page. You can go to this episode's page. I just didn't want to make this episode too long. Steve, between what Labuscas said, what Blackman said, and from your perspective as someone who has attended ISC, what does this do to the community? What does this do to manufacturing roadmaps? What does this do for us as a global AV people?
There's a few different ways you can look at it. First, as an attendee, it makes life a little bit easier because it was certainly a concern to attend because the fact that you can't really control your condition and not being able to get on a plane to come home was a big fear. My company has been going in the years that we've been able to, and it was definitely a big obstacle to commit to this year. Too much responsibility, but moving it makes a lot of sense. Moving it to the time of year in May is going to be tough for those of us who attend Infocom and are involved in Infocom. And I think everybody knows that. And it's very possible that it couldn't have been scheduled at another time. So I'm glad they are having it. And the reason that I think I even bring this up is because although they both may serve different audiences from a geographic perspective, from somebody who's attended both several times, I think that they're very different experiences. And I think that you really need to attend both to get the feel for it and to understand why. But as somebody who is at Infocom, there's a lot that goes into Infocom and a lot of commitments and responsibilities, and there's a lot of people that and being able to go to a show like ISC is almost a bit of a luxury to be able to feel like you can walk around and go on your own agenda and be able to have your meetings with a little less distraction. And I say that in a nice way. It's still good to see familiar faces and all, and be able to meet people. But the manner in which that show is held makes for a lot deeper conversations, and being able to meet people and be able to get to know them on a different level has really been a big value for me in attending. So I feel like it is important that we have both shows, and I hope to be able to attend both, but I don't know in close proximity if that's going to be possible.
All right, Bren, we mentioned the fact that you and Alex are both in Canada. Not to be the big dumb American here, but we kind of consider the North American contingent kind of all in one. This is IUC is considered a global show. Not that Infocom isn't. It certainly is. It wasn't what it was certainly in this past October, but there were a number of international, non-North Americans at the show in Orlando. What does this do to ISC and Infocom as we look at the global perspective of this? Both Mr. Labuscas and Mr. Blackman mentioned the fact that there's not a big percentage that comes from North America. And they both said, they both put kind of Canada and the U.S. together on that. However, as Steve said, there are still a number of folks who do come from the North American contingent. Not to be silly, but Steve does. I do. Joe and I think Joe, the last time it was held which was Amsterdam in 2020. Joe was there with me. What does this do, Bren, to get that whole international global show?
Well, first of all, I think that the move the move to May will dissuade a lot of the people who would have come in February because it's tour season or the start of it. So from a practical standpoint, costs are much higher. In Canada, we have different testing requirements in terms of leaving and entering other countries. So it's not quite the same as coming from the United States. I'm a dual, and I oftentimes have in the last 2 years chosen how I'm going to travel based on where I was going and where I was coming back to, in order to avoid the anxiety of, am I going to test positive or negative, and is that going to keep me from going home or going to my next meeting or wherever it is I need to be? I think that overall, it feels like we're not learning anything. All the conversation about the next normal, the new normal, when are we going to stop trying to pull from our past and continuing doing what we did in the past as opposed to embracing the future? When we think about education is top down. You have someone older than you who is teaching you something that is already outdated. And we keep going top down and looking from the past to the future for how we do things. When was the first conference show? Certainly in the 20th century, right? Yeah. Now, yes, there needs to be together for the physical things that we have to see. But if we've learned nothing else, our world is no longer just a physical world. And the next generation that we want to attract to this industry, they are already living in a virtual and digital world. And I feel like most of these conferences are, the notion of hybrid attendance is basically still, let's give you some things to interact with online, but we're still focused on people being there in person. And to me, it's just a 20th century way of thinking.
It's actually really, really, really appropriate there because, one of the things that you look at, different shows. One of them is E4, and E4, it's a gamers conference. Typically happens in June. That one has already announced it's going completely virtual. Now, it's a gaming show, right? So there are certain aspects and elements that lend itself to it, certainly. But there is something to be said about making sure that we have more and more of it virtual aspects of our shows.
And just look at what part of the show could be virtual and then would actually make it truly global, because then you could have wider participation from around the world. We are up against this challenge in terms of talent, but we are not making it easier for talent to discover this field and to discover the places where decision makers are operating or socializing, who are going to give them that first job. So,
yeah, absolutely. Alex, from your perspective, what does this do to supply chains? What does this do for R&D and rolling out? What does it do to the AV community globally?
Yeah, I mean, from a global perspective, I'm not too sure. I mean, North America, we're such a small contingent that goes there, and that's one of the big draws for me personally to go to ISE, to echo kind of what Steve said. I had the opportunity to go in 2019 or 2018, I can't remember, in Amsterdam, and what a pleasure it was. But also it was really unique because as a Canadian, as kind of like, to your point, Tim, as a, kind of like this forgotten element, we're even a smaller contingent, right? And when we meet up with other Canadians there, they typically are on the senior leadership. They're not your average key account manager that's trying to, grind out the pitch. And, we got 23 seconds to get this pitch done. So it's more of an opportunity to connect in person. I really respect what Brent has to say about, leading with technology and making it virtual. I'm someone that's, more of a face-to-face, a little bit more of a human-centric type of personality in that respect. So I love going to these events. I'd planned on going to ISE. And unfortunately, it didn't line up that I felt comfortable I could get back, and I feel many others feel the same way. But onwards to InfoComm, I suppose.
Really quickly, because you mentioned the fact that you planned on going. do you plan on going now? It's in May.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's too close to Infocom. I think there was some also in our space in digital signage, or some other events that kind of are going on at that same time. That it's just not really feasible to go in May.
And Tim, by the way, I will probably still go in May, but with it, when it was happening in February, I was taking my team. So it wasn't just me. We were able to, flights are cheap to Spain in February compared to May. So we were 4 people going instead of 1. And one thing I'll say about the virtual experience, if it doesn't feel human centric, then that's kind of on us, And those of us who, design, consult, and also our software partners who are creating user experiences and user interfaces. Either way, we've got to make that more human-centric because the next generation this is what they know, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Way, I know that you and I have talked about this both kind of online and in the background. And I will point before we go. There were 3 UK shows that were happening at the same time as ISE's new dates. I say were. We've got word that at least one of them is moving their dates for that show. They have not made it public yet, but they are certainly looking at other dates to move their show. The other 2 we don't know yet. Speaking of moving shows, Joe, you put something out on social that will bring this all around here. And you asked both ISE and AVIXA, hey, why don't we just make this permanent, right? Keep ISE in May, move Infocom to October. Now, Joe's a tech manager. He works in higher education. Why does that make sense? And why is that idea out there?
Yeah, it's a brilliant idea, by the way, and they should really listen to it. I'm here for the people. I'm here to represent the true needs of what it is that we need for our industry and specifically higher ed. But the real reason is, let's be honest, we were all loved being in Florida in October. It was actually the best time to have a show. The weather was wonderful. It also fit the higher ed buying cycle, right? I had conversations at Infocom in October that fit well with what I need to do this coming summer. And then likewise with ISE, we don't want to go where it's cold in February. I live in Southern California for a reason. Okay, I don't want to have to shovel my ISE. So moving that to the spring just makes more sense. And again, it aligns with when we're looking to put things in with our normal budget cycles, our project cycles. It just seems to fit better. And I was excited to see them change it. I would have been to ISE just with you. I would have gone in February. I will still go in May. I will go whenever they hold ISE or Infocom because they're important parts of who we are as an industry. And as Aristotle said, humans by nature are social animals, and I think it's important that we gather as people. And so I will go whenever they hold it. But May ISE, October Infocom, put it on the calendar, leave it there. Do it. That would be wonderful.
And I will say that I hope that ISE does not stay in May during the start of tourist season. I wish that it would go earlier in the spring so that more people could attend. It will be cost prohibitive. It will be concentrated to senior people the closer it gets to June, July.
That is one aspect that I had not considered, Bren, was the tourist season part of that, right?
Yeah.
Now,
well, and I did look into that. I thought that same thing. And originally, I was going to ISE thinking, well, what happens? What if I can't get out of the country, or what if it goes? And so my wife and I were planning on adding a vacation to it and thinking, well, worst thing that happens, they don't have a show and we have vacation. Well, we're going to do the same thing in May. And we looked up flights again from LAX, which is a major airport. There was no flight. There was no cost difference from when I ended up looking. Now, granted, that may change as more people start booking their summers. We're in an awkward year with COVID, so that may change. But as of now, it's looking good.
All our flights were triple.
Wow. Yeah, we had no change.
Ask any travel agent and they'll tell you that it's going to cost more to go to Europe in May than it will in February. It's just the way it is. So.
All right. Well, we will certainly watch both of those. I will point out that as we wrap this story up, a Mobile World Congress, which is scheduled for the week after ISE was originally scheduled, which is the ISE was originally the 1st through the 4th of February. It's still going on, right? Mobile World Congress is still going on. So we'll kind of have to watch those shows as well as a couple others that are happening in Frankfurt and Germany and in and around the European area through the spring to see exactly how those are coming off, how those are happening. I will point out that CES happened this year about a week or so ago. I was there. It was lower than what a normal CES was, but we were all masked. We were all vaccinated. Had to be, right, to even get your badge. So that does portend well for Infocom happening. And again, this year it's in Vegas, so we'll have to watch it and see how it goes. All right. Next story comes to us from the website of White Light Limited. White Light becomes part of the D&B Group, quote unquote from the article. Today, White Light is delighted to announce that it is joining the newly formed D&B Solutions business. Why that matters is because the first company to join D&B Solutions was SFL Group, which was already in a strategic partnership with White Light. So this kind of like brings them both under one group, under one roof. According to the group, this will quote unquote add to D&B Group's technical expertise and significantly increase the solutions capability to offer complete and flexible audio, video, lighting, and XR solutions, which is where we're going with this. Bren, we're starting with you on this. How big of a deal is this acquisition of White Light?
I think it's a really big deal in terms of moving XR forward. Last year, Facebook became Meta, and we were all talking about the metaverse, but we're not going to leap from where we are into the metaverse. There are going to be transitional presentations, and the XR stage is a fantastic way to do it. It's going to replace green screen. We all know it's going to go away. And I think in the next 2 years, we're going to see it in all sorts of applications beyond The Mandalorian and beyond entertainment. It's a natural fit for higher education. I think we'll see a lot of schools start to use these, both the encapsulated cube rooms and hybrid stages where they can have other people in the room in an auditorium. So it's a game changer. And it might even be the thing that helps D&B get Soundscape off and going, because I think Soundscape has been lagging behind its competitors. And if they can combine these two solutions in something integrated for people, that's more something that they can have happening in their venues without a whole lot of angst, then I think we start to see more immersive type performances happening, with remote audiences also able to experience the immersive audio.
Real quickly, explain to folks, if they're not familiar, what the Mandalorian reference there was.
The Mandalorian reference is to the stage that they used to film it, which was OLED panels to create this environment. And it's, again, that was, I think, one of the biggest things that happened last year was the recognition that stage got at the Emmys, the work that they got at the Emmys. I think we'll see the public start to ask for these things too.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is phenomenal. As somebody who is just now caught up on the book of Boba Fett as well, that's a whole nother conversation. It's really good. You should watch. If you like the Mandalorian, my 2 cents, you will like the Boba Fett. So, Alex, looking at this and looking at XR and obviously with digital signage, it becomes even more relevant here. Where are we at with bringing XR and into the AV and the DS space?
Oh, it's early days, but again, I'll just echo what Brent said. Mandalorian has done a lot of really incredible things for that space. What can be done with that technology really changes the entire game. I mean, Vancouver is a huge movie production industry here. We're already starting to see that go into some of the studios. But what is really intriguing to me is it kind of takes or puts the ability to move the talent to globally. So we can look at areas where there's global talent that's not getting tapped into, and you can now transfer that that talent and that technology to a local space, whether it be Eastern Europe or Asia or Africa or wherever, you can really just move that technology. And it's something I was thinking about actually the other evening, is that it is really kind of creating a whole new landscape where we're going to see movie production become more international. It's not going to be the North America blockbuster anymore. You're going to get these little productions and movies that are going to pop up and go viral. I really do think so in the next coming years, especially with this type of technology where it really just takes the power back from the big movie houses and puts it back into independence. So
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Totally. I totally agree with that too. If you want to say, here at USC, obviously very world famous film school, and we have a number of these studios going in. We are building them. We're taking our new esports arena and creating an entire, LED wall experience around it to be able to create virtual environments within this space. I think it's huge. I recently wrote an article. I said that AV's next big convergence is going to be with the metaverse. I think that there's going to be a huge there's a lot of money to be made. And if you're not already thinking about it as an integrator of how you can be part of this, you're not doing yourselves any favors. But if you think even at USC, our gaming majors does not fall under computer science. It falls under our film school. And that should tell you a lot about when we're looking at graphic design and all these things of how we look at this as an entertainment type of module and not necessarily computer science. And while you need it, and we have degrees that combine these things, this is going to change the entertainment industry and really the way we as consumers both want to buy, purchase, consume our entertainment, but how we as content creators, you're sitting behind a green screen at the moment, but how we start doing this, you see the youth already being, the youth already know, the TikTokers and YouTubers, how to create content, to create personal brands. And this is going to change the world in a very short amount of time. And as an AV industry, we're really, really good at being late to the game. But all of the writing is on the wall on this one. So hopefully we can get involved, because everything being needed to make this content, to do these productions, are all audio visual equipment. So are we going to take control of it or not? Are we going to let it slip by because we're too afraid of saying that no one's going to walk around with goggles on? And if you're thinking that this is just people walking around with goggles on, you are not understanding the metaverse itself and the whole purpose of it. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Right on,
that
Joe.
was one of the... Go ahead, Ben.
I said right on. That is spot on. It's about the transition to that place where the goggles actually go away. And I keep waiting for the computer science degree to go away, because everyone should be studying computer science who's an undergraduate right now, in my view. But
kind of like English. Yeah, one of the common threads throughout CES last week was the metaverse, and certainly not a lot, but there was certainly a number of booths that were there that were tying into it. Steve, you'll have the last word on this. When you look at moves like this with white light, what does this do as far as pushing the AV industry forward and keeping us up to date, and as Joe says, not falling too far behind?
Well, I like what everybody's been saying. This area is a little bit outside of where my focus is, but just the idea of being able to put partners together that are going to the sum is going to be greater than the parts is always a good thing. And being able to move the industry forward and have new ways of doing things, both not only on the technology side but also on the being forward thinking. And I think that a little bit of that has been lacking, and is kind of going back to what Bren said earlier. We need to be appealing to not only our clients but also those who are going to take the baton and move the industry forward in the future. The younger people, and also being able to compete for talent with other industries.
All right, very good. That'll be a good place to stop. Thank you all so much. Josiah Way, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you?
Oh, thank you very much. As always, it's a pleasure. You can find me on all the socials at Josiah Way. And, of course, find Hetma at hetma_org. If you are in higher ed and a tech manager, please do come and come to your family.
Yes, join them. Join them. They have cookies. Bren Walker, thank you so much. How do people connect with you or Kierkegaard?
They can find us at Kierkegaard.com. You can email me, Bren@Kierkegaard.com, and I'm on LinkedIn as Brenda J. Walker.
Just for the record, Bren has the best stories in the history of people that I've talked with. And that includes some really remarkable people, so you should connect with her.
Thank you, Tim.
Alex, thank you, bud. Thank you so much. How do people connect with you or Novmaga?
You can connect with us at novmega.com, on LinkedIn. You can find me as a follower of just about everyone on here on Twitter, or Twitter myself. LinkedIn, like I said, Instagram, or you can just email me, alex@novmega.com. More than happy to connect with anyone.
All right, very good. Mr. Greenblatt, how do people connect with you or Control Concepts?
It could be found on the socials at Steve Greenblatt. Control Concepts could be at controlconcepts.net. And for my partner, Rich Vergoso, I need to put a shout out for our podcast here on AVNation, A State of Control. Please check that out if you want to learn more about the programming, automation, and control side of the industry. I'm also doing something really cool in about a week. I've done this presentation for the AVNation Learn From Home, and I'm getting a chance to do it again for rave pubs on using personality types and for increased productivity, and encourage everybody to go check it out. It's part of the Girl Boss series, and it's a really cool interactive session, and I hope to see some of you out there.
Yeah, you can find that out on the 24th of January. So by this time, this post will be about a week out. And you can also check out Steve on another podcast with a fellow HETMA person, Ask the Programmer with James King. So you can check that out. For me, for Tim Albright, do not follow me on the Twitters. Our buddy Chris Netto has got the AV challenge going on, so you can check that out. Go do that. There's 30 days of postings. At this point, I am just waiting to see who in the world the Bears hire as a head coach and a GM. So that was surprising. The GM, not the head coach. The head coach was not a surprise. But go by the website if you would, please. AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others, including Mr. Greenblatt's State of Control. Speaking of Canadians, Matt Scott, who is in London, Ontario, he hosts our residential side of the industry. So he does that every week. I mentioned the fact that the AV Reader's Choice Awards is going on. This is the final round. So you got 2 weeks to make your voice heard. By the time this post, that will have been posted. Do not ask me who is on it because I have no clue. They do not let me touch that anymore, but that's probably for the best. But go vote. As they say in Chicago, vote early and vote often. And go check that out if you would, please. Also check out our sponsors who help us bring you AVWeek and ResiWeek and ISE, regardless of when it happens, and Infocom, regardless of when it happens, Mr. Way. So check all that out and more at avnation.tv. It's avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for AV Week.